Tamario Stokes Jr. had only been 4 days into the new school year at Whiteland High School, where he was a sophomore. Now, just down the street from his house, there is a memorial where the 16-year-old was shot yesterday. Tamario's mom and grandmother were out here this morning. They didn't want to go on camera. They said they had been crying all night. Meanwhile, at a news conference this morning, police and school officials talked about where the investigation stands.
It's all too often these days that we're seeing our youth resort to pulling a trigger as a result of minor conflicts.
But Greenwood police still aren't giving a motive for why they think 18-year-old Tyreek Radford-El shot and killed 16-year-old Tamario Stokes Jr. Thursday morning at Stokes bus stop. According to investigators, the teens knew each other and lived about a mile apart. Witnesses to the shooting gave police a description of the suspect, saying the shooter took off running towards cornfields nearby. 3 hours later, police say they saw a man who matched the description of the suspect. According to investigators, that man turned out to be Radford-El. Police arrested him, preliminarily charging him with Stokes' murder.
There's a 16-year-old man, young man, that lost his life. There's a family that's experiencing unimaginable grief because of that loss. But there's also another family that lost an 18-year-old who's now incarcerated for murder. And for what? Minor conflict? It's just not worth it.
A friend of the Stokes family told 13 News Radford-El and Stokes had a disagreement over a moped or dirt bike a few months ago, and that most recently the teens had a fight.
I guess it still wasn't over, and they plotted on him yesterday morning and came and got him.
Police say so far Radford-El is their only suspect. Right now, investigators aren't saying if they have the gun used, even after spending several hours Thursday afternoon searching this retention pond for what they called evidence in the shooting. A crime that's led to this message for parents.
Please, parents, be engaged in your child's life. Talk to them, teach them appropriate conflict resolution, teach them the consequences of their actions, and help us keep our children safe.
16-year-old Tamario Stokes Jr. was involved in a mentor program that was aimed to help youth stay away from violence.
Our John Duran talked with Tamario's mentor today, who learned that the teen was going to be a change agent for his generation.
My heart dropped. I said, why? You know, why him?
Tamario Stokes was on the path to change.
So it's been about a year. He was very active in our program. He wasn't a young man that came kind of intermittently or inconsistently. He was very consistent in our program.
Let's run!
Kareem Hines' mentorship program, called New Boy, or New Breed of Youth.
His participation was mandatory because of some mandates he had in regarding his participation, but his attitude was voluntary. His attitude that he brought to the program, his optimism, you know, his character, the magic that he brought to our program was voluntary, and it was infectious.
Hines shared these photos with us to show what he saw. Stokes taking a turn for the better.
He made some mistakes in the past, but he was one of those kids who was genuine about change. And right when he was at the cusp of making that change, he got taken out.
A problem that's become too familiar for Hines.
This year, on average, we're losing about one a month. With young men who we've touched in our program. The trauma is definitely real. The grief is real, and our young people don't know how to grieve. And it's becoming to the point, it's becoming normal for them to lose.
The loss of Stokes will stick with Hines and New Boy forever.
Tamario was the reason our program has elevated to a new level, and we have a different purpose because he changed the lives of other young men. He was a definite born leader, and he will always be remembered.
The Johnson County prosecutor tonight is expected to give some kind of statement next week on charges against this suspect. To learn more about the investigation, just go to WTHR.com.